One of my bigger outside organizations is Best Buddies, and that's something I've been involved with for 4 years now. There's always opportunities. If you want an opportunity, there's one there. So there was something for a committee, and it wasn't for kids. It was not for teenagers. And I was like, hey, you need people. I'm a person. Like, just because I'm young doesn't mean I can't help. So they ended up making a junior committee just because I was like, I don't know if it was because of me, but I know there was a lot of other people and teenagers who were like, hey, we want to be a part of this. So that's something that's really cool that you just ask. You just say, I know you need help. I know you need people. I'm here to help. And it doesn't matter how old you are, because good help's good help.
Welcome back to Journey to June. I'm your host, Wendy Basilico, and we are here doing the Solstigating thing with graduates this month. We are interviewing Solstigator graduates that I have met on my path recently, both high school and college graduates that really are clear with what they want and who they are. You can see it in their energy. You can see it in how they present themselves. And I just thought it would be cool this month to highlight the work that they've done. Some of it, they've gone through some struggles to get to where they are. And this episode, I'm interviewing Kadence Beaulieu, but she's a recent graduate of Dreyfoos School of the Arts, concentrating on voice performance. And how I met her is through my daughter. She's been a counselor at Abby's Performance Arts Studio, and she's also very involved with this Best Buddies program that she talks about within this episode. Just very engaged and very courageous in how she goes after things. So listen in. If you have a child in high school, early middle school, and you're a parent, listen in, because it's really cool to listen to how they think at the age of 18. And she is so clear on what she wants, and she's not afraid to ask. Check it out. Okay, Kadence, welcome to Journey to June. We are so happy to have you here in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So give us a little update of where, so just clarifying, I met Kadence through my daughter, through a theater program that my daughter's in, and it was just like a couple weeks ago where she was like assisting my daughter taking off her Fiona makeup. I was like, got talking to Kadence, and I was like, this human is amazing. So that's why we're having it.
Thank
you on here, you're one of our first of the monthly theme of interviewing graduates, and you are one of them. So give us a little scoop of where you are right now.
Yeah.
What are you excited about?
So I just graduated from Dreyfoos. It's an art school, and my main focus was vocal performance, which is why I was so involved with Miss Abby. I'm going to Furman. It's in Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm studying neuroscience. And then I also decided to add a BA for vocal as well. So a lot going on. I'm really excited for all of that to come and just to see where that takes me.
So I always think like the high school senior, junior year is so stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, I have so many questions. I'm like, tell me about Dreyfoos. But I really feel like your experience through college, like applications, what did you feel or go through?
Yeah.
And then also, what do you see in that arena in the world, like in your age group of like going through it? Like, what do you see?
So everyone going into senior year, everyone's like, oh my God, junior year is so hard. It's so much worse. And I felt that junior year was a breeze. It was just a lot of hard level classes, which I've always enjoyed taking. And senior year was what really hit me with all the applications. And no one talked about it and how difficult it was. But everyone applies to a crazy number of schools. I applied to 20. But my thing was, I researched the schools a lot before I applied. And I made sure, okay, here are my stats. Here's what they want. And here's what I can offer and how I can offer it. And I made that very clear in the application process. So I didn't apply to crazy schools that I didn't think I could get into, but I also didn't lowball myself. So it was just really being able to research and know what you want, which is hard.
Okay. So I'm going so many gems just in this conversation right there. Number one, how did you did you completely go online? Like way back when I was when I was going through the process, I was in 1989. I'm aging myself, but there was like the college books with all the different colleges. But how did you research? Like for someone listening, a parent or a kid that's in this moment in time that it's stressful. It's like, where do I go?
Exactly. So I use Naviance. It's an online website that you put in your stats. So you put in your GPA, you put in your class rank. With Dreyfoos, it's all skewed differently. But I put in all those stats, and then they tell you what schools would be a good fit and where you'd be in their median of acceptances. Now, you also have to take into account, like, you have a lot more to offer than just your grades or just your class rank. So that's just kind of a base point, and you can obviously skew them a little bit higher if you think you have more to offer, or take what they give you.
So it's an app or it's a website?
Website.
Okay, so it's a website. You're putting more your grades.
Right.
And maybe like the size of the school?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was like the starting point of how you weeded things out.
Yeah.
Got it. Did you know what size school you wanted to go to?
Yeah, I knew I wouldn't be successful if I was sitting in a class with 300 other people. So I didn't apply to big state schools. I didn't apply to UF. I didn't apply to FSU. I had done camps over the summer at FSU, and I knew that wasn't where I wanted to be. And it works for some people, but I knew I wanted something smaller with a more one-to-one, and your professors are there to help you. They're not there to just lecture at you.
Got it.
So that's where
So when you say you knew, how, because I talk about this really helping myself as a 52-year-old, but also my daughter to navigate, like, how do you know personally? How do you go, this is for me? Like, what is it? Is it something in your body? Is it, what is it?
Yes, it's something in my body, but also I know who I am. So it's more trial and error. Like, I've been in a lot of big classrooms, and it's a hard subject, and the teacher is just barely getting through because she has 40 kids in her classroom. She can't stop and answer every single question. So I've been in that situation, and even 40 kids is not a lot in a college setting. So I just knew I wanted something smaller where I was able to get an individualized education. If that makes sense.
Get that? Yeah. So when did you know that early on, or was it you learned that in Dreyfoos when you started in 9th grade?
Yeah.
Because how big is Dreyfoos?
There's only 1,200 kids.
So 1,200 with 4 grades.
Right. So about half the size as a normal
That's a
school.
lot for me. Still. So what is it, like 300 a class?
About that.
Which is smaller than Bach.
Right.
Because she's going at 400 in a class. Going from 40 in a class to 400.
Wow.
It's going to be a shocker. What advice because you talked about also like you're more than your grades. And I think this is sometimes gets slipped. I know graduates or people applying and they're like, oh God, I should have done a community thing. Obviously, you do some type of service, or you've been on some type of committees.
Right.
Is this coming from your family, or is that like self-driven?
Self-driven.
Self-driven.
Yeah.
Okay.
My family's always been very good. There's a lot of self-pressure, and it's not really pressure, but it's self-motivation, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Where they've always stepped back with me. Like my other 2 sisters, they're not like that with.
What number are you? So you have 3.
I'm the first. Yes.
You're the first of 3.
Yes.
So they're very proud. First of 3. Of course, you're driven. You're like number 1. So what advice would you give to like even Josie, who's 11? You started working with Abby at the theater at 12 as an counselor.
Yeah.
What advice, knowing if you look back, you're 18, looking back in those 6 years, it's only 6 years, what did you do that you go, that really helped me in the college process?
I think just getting involved. A lot of people, you'd be surprised how many people are not involved. So just little things, like if there's a volunteer opportunity of like a beach cleanup, just something small to just open the door a little bit, get your feet wet, and you'll feel good after you do it too. But just little things, just get involved. It's never too early.
So what have you done? So like give the listeners some ideas of like the little things you did in 6 years that I know you started with Abby.
So I started with Miss Abby. I was a counselor, and I really enjoyed it. So I just stuck with that throughout the year as well. One of my bigger outside organizations is Best Buddies, and that's something I've been involved with for 4 years now. Things like there would always be an opportunity. There's always opportunities. If you want an opportunity, there's one there. So there was something for a committee, and it wasn't for kids. It was not for teenagers. And I was like, hey, you need people. I'm a person. Like, just because I'm young doesn't mean I can't help. So they ended up making a junior committee just because I was like, I don't know if it was because of me, but I know there was a lot of other people and teenagers who were like, hey, we want to be a part of this. So that's something that's really cool that you just ask. You just say, I know you need help. I know you need people. I'm here to help. And it doesn't matter how old you are, because good help's good help.
I love that. So you like actually asked to be part of something that did not have a youth opportunity, but you made it an opportunity, or by you speaking up, they created something,
right?
Which is so cool. Like what if something's not there, you create it.
Yeah,
the opportunity. What is that program that you worked for, the boys and girls? What's it
Best
called?
Buddies.
Best Buddies, yeah.
It helps students with intellectual and developmental disabilities, so it promotes inclusion. What we do in our high school chapter is we promote one-to-one friendship. So you'll take someone who's has an IDD and someone who's neurotypical, and they'll become friends and just kind of help them mentor so they don't feel as alone, because high school's scary.
So you're setting up in high school, in your high school?
Yeah.
Okay, so in your high school, you're on a committee to create really support for newbies, or to create a relationship so they feel safe.
Right.
I love that. Yeah. I think that is something I've noticed. My daughter's gone to many schools, and there's some that have that safe feeling, like everybody's inclusive. We're all gonna like work through situations. And then sometimes I feel like either you have to like stay in line, and then the ones that like are alone or different, they kind of get lost in the shuffle. So that's a really cool program. Yeah. That's a really cool program.
It's great.
What was the coolest experience you had by doing that program?
So this is what the committee I was talking about. They plan friendship balls, which are like proms basically, but it's obviously an outside of school event, so it's not school sponsored. There's no funding, anything like that. So that's where I was like, hey, I can help. Please let me help. And we ended up having over 250 people attend the event. And the year before, there was only 50. It was held in a high school gym. And so this year, there was 250. It was held at a private venue. We had everything catered. I think we raised over $2,000 at the event because the parents were like, wow, this is awesome. So they just ended up donating money, like standing at the door. They're like, wow, we just want to be a part of this.
So this is a dance for the actual Best Buddies.
Yes.
That is so cool. Okay, so what pops in my head with that is it could just be my example of the retreat I just started in the last year. You know, it takes time to, like, when something's not created, it takes time to build. And it's funny because I've been on other boards, a Golf for Africa board for 12 years. And sometimes we would try something, we'd stop it, or sometimes my business, like we try it. But you really won't know the capability of something until, and that's really cool to see you go from 250 to, how many did you say?
50 to 250.
50 to 250.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Even I'm just thinking when I was in high school, like I was the athlete, but I think giving back to the community, that's what I hear a lot of what you're doing. What does that, by giving back, by counseling these young kids who are trying to learn their voice in theater, what is that doing for you? What has shifted in you in the last 6 years as a human?
It's really fulfilling, and it opens up a whole world of opportunities too. So I'm doing neuroscience because I want to help and I want to give answers, and I don't want to stop helping. And I think that's something that's really important that was fostered too. By helping, it opens up so much internally, and you feel good, but you also know you're helping people, and you know you're being part of a better world. In a world that might be dark, you're providing some sort of light. So I think that's really what it's done for me.
Well said. So neuro, let's go into that, because I've studied a lot of neuroscience, more on the performance base, but just like our nervous system prevents us or gets overloaded with all the stuff that's coming at us. And learning of how we can actually, I mean, this is my experience, so I would love to know what was it that made you draw to neuroscience? Was it something within like theater, voice, or was it just you learned about the neuro?
So it was more working with kids, and I really liked the psychology aspect of being like, okay, how can I help you? What can I do to make you feel better as a person? And then I was researching, and I felt like neuroscience is more answers. So it's not, you're feeling this way, how can we help you make you feel better? Neuroscience is, okay, this is why you're feeling this way, and this is how we can approach it from a more of a like scientific. So that's why I wanted to do neuroscience.
It's I only did a year of training, and I'm actually starting up again to redo my training, because it's a lot of information. But this company is called Next Level Neuro, and they train PT and doctors, chiros, because they think and I believe it, there's a gap of, you either have something going on with your brain and you're dying, like something's happening that's not good,
right? Or
you just feel in that middle and you feel like you can't do anything but take a pill.
Right.
And so there's definitely things
so much
that
more
can help our nervous system to help us activate like our energy and our way of thinking and our, the light that you're talking about. Because I've seen it from breath work to eye work to movements with their joints.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. I'm jealous. Who knows? Maybe I'll deeper study. I have no idea. But I think it's cool. And you want to do it in the realm of like a voice coaching, or it's just like that is your major? You don't know where it's going.
That's my major. So I wasn't going to add a BA in music. It's actually a lot of work, vocal degrees in general. But they reached out, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll add it. And I visited, and they were like, we really would love it. And I was like, okay, I'm not ready to give it up yet. So kind of going in for both. I know I'm going to be in over my head, but.
So you applied to 20 schools?
Yes.
You didn't visit all 20?
No.
Did you visit any?
Not until after I got accepted.
Got it. So then you went and narrowed down. And what were the schools that you narrowed down to?
So DePaul, which is in Indiana, that was a big one. I went and visited, and I was like, I really liked it, but the professors weren't as involved as the ones at Furman. And
so how did you know that you went and like you asked questions? Like what kind of questions were you asking the school or the administration?
Yeah. So I think questions are so important. I was asking, like, obviously you want to know their retention rate, so their graduation rate. You don't want a school that has 50% graduation rate. You want to ask their I think they're called professional degrees. So how many of their students go on to get a master's or go to get a law degree? Stuff like that shows their retention, and it also shows the professors are involved and they're actively inspiring their students to want to learn more, and you want a school that inspires you.
I think that is, like, it's funny because what's popping in my head when I applied to school way back when, or even it could be anything. It could be going to a doctor. It could be like really asking good questions to see if that organization, that school, that doctor aligns with like what speaks to you.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes we just go, oh, everybody's gone to Clemson or everybody's gone there. We're just going to go. And I think, I know you've reached, I don't think, I know just like the first time I spoke to you, like I was so in awe of you, of how, I think, am I right? Like you got into Furman And then you also you went back and asked for
Yes.
scholarships. So tell me about that.
So I think it's really important for a college to invest in you because you're going to work for them for 4 years, whether you're doing research or you're just helping their academics, because everything you do is really their statistics. So it's kind of important if you ask for another scholarship that they're like, okay, here's this. Even if it's an extra $1,000 a year, it shows that they're invested in you and they're able to commit to you while you're committing to them. So I did ask for more money. They gave me a lot more money, and that's kind of what sold the deal, because I asked for more money at other schools. And it really didn't have much to do with I need more money. Like, that wasn't my point. I was just, I'm going to work for you for 4 years. I'm going to work my butt off. I will do whatever. I will better your community. I just want to know you're able to help me out, and you're going to, and you see my potential as well.
So you got in, you accepted, and then wrote them.
No. So
Okay.
I did not accept until.
So you wrote did you write them, or you called and spoke to someone?
Both.
So if you're listening, and my daughter's over here in the corner, and hopefully she's listening. What I hear loud and clear is to get engaged, to ask questions, to not be afraid to ask for more of your worth, of your value, and know that they have a benefit for having you at the school as much as they're allowing you in.
Right.
That is such a a flipped reversal thought process when it comes to schools. And what I also hear is you have so much confidence to do it. And I think the confidence comes when I hear you're just doing all this work, that you know know what you've done in the work that you've done so far.
Right.
And you're going to provide something with them. That's so 18? When's your birthday?
December. So
December
18.
what?
21st.
Josie's December 25th. So December
Christmas
babies. Christmas babies. So are you 18 or 19?
18.
You're 18. Okay. So that's kind of on the older of the class, right? Mm-hmm. When you think of your neuro, theater, when you grew up, you have, I don't know, how close are your siblings?
One is 16 and one is 13.
16, 13, so spread out. But when you grew up, were you always singing, or talk to me about how you grew up and what was already calling you? Because Live Your June and how we talk about ethos and your character, there is something inside of us before we come out of the womb with it. And if we don't nurture that, we're going to go against the current. We're going to always feel off because it's we're just fitting in, or we're just doing what society or our families think we should do. And then we're living someone else's values or someone else's belief.
Right.
So tell me about your childhood and how your parents helped either nurture or challenge you.
Yeah. So as long as I can remember, I was always in dance. So I was always surrounded by music. I believe it was 2nd grade, I started playing piano and singing at the same time. And I think that's really when I was okay, I can never stop this. And I never did.
And how did your parents support that? Were they, because Josie is down this road and I'm an athlete, and I go, I'm navigating as a newbie. But it's very similar as an athlete too. But sometimes I get, the theater world it's a tough road. And my belief is any road is tough if you go all in. But how did your parents kind of nurture you in believing in yourself? Or, maybe they are more passive. What was your experience?
So my parents were always more passive with me. It was a lot of self-motivation and self-anxiety that I need to be perfect. And this has come up before too. And
interesting.
They're really, your parents never pushed you? I'm no, they really didn't. I mean, they were always there. They were always supporting, always there if I needed anything. I mean, still are. But it was always something that's so self-driven. My mom grew up playing violin. She was all throughout high school. She was first chair violin. So it's definitely something that ran in the family. And then my grandfather on my dad's side always sang to them, like growing up. So it's something in the family.
Like music's in the family, or
yeah,
the drive and music is in the family?
I think both are. Both. My dad is the most driven person I know. So
got it.
Yeah.
So you're witnessing that, and
yeah,
but not as hard on you, or hard on you.
Not as hard on me.
So it kind of gave you room, space, but you have your own drive.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Again, I just have I'm currently in Josie's world, and I know some older kids, some driven, some not in a bad way. They just haven't found their thing. There's nothing wrong. But how did having that drive give you said it, anxiousness, and like, how did you manage that to feel kind of more, like, I see you right now personally, if you're listening, like an 18-year-old that's super calm, humble,
thank you,
sweet, but strong. So like,
thank you.
And that's just her in her energy of coming in, and the second time I've ever met you. But how did you manage that anxiety? Or you know, it's there. We all the kids, you know.
It's really performance anxiety. And I did a recital at the Palm Beach Opera, and I know my worth. I know I'm good. I know I train, and I know I'm prepared, but it doesn't matter. I still step on that stage, and I'm like, oh my God, like my heart's racing. And it's funny because no one ever notices. Like, even the mentors at Palm Beach Opera, they're like, really? You're nervous? You're so cool and collected. I'm like, no, I'm dying. But it's always there. And that's really the anxiety. And
so it's more the anxiety of performance than the drive that you're preparing for the performance.
Right.
It's like the actual performance.
I think it's just, there's so much vulnerability in performance because this is your instrument. It's not like piano. I don't get as nervous because it's something you can practice and you can do whatever you want. A piano is going to sound like a piano, but your voice, it's so unique and it's such a vulnerable instrument for you that's really what makes me nervous about it. And I think that's
because you don't know if like what's inside of you is actually going to show up that day.
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Kind
of. And it's also, you know, some people might not like your sound and there's nothing you can do about it.
Got it.
It's just, it's how you are.
So as an athlete, like, it makes me think of like golf. And so I played professional golf. You don't know this, but most people listening do. But I played late. So I played lacrosse in college. And then I left a lot of talent on the table. So I didn't have great coaches, even though we were 8th in the nation and all these things. And then I kind of like was, you know, I traveled, and then I got my master's in my 20s, and I got back to New York doing what, you know, the resume looked good. I had my master's. I was teaching in Harlem, doing good in the world, but I was flat inside. I wasn't like excited because I was like, this is all, and not to say anything about teaching. Like, it's just, I knew there was more to whatever.
Right.
And then I started playing golf. And when I think of golf, is, again, if I'm playing in a tournament or I'm playing for something I'm preparing for the year to get on the main tour, you don't know you can only prepare, and then you just have to show up and do the best you can with what's coming out.
Yeah.
So it's not a voice, but it is like how I hit a ball.
It's really similar.
And the more I learn how my body. So I'm just curious, do you do anything around that anxiety to prepare you, not just the voice prepare, but like things like breath work or stuff that's going to help calm the nervous system, going back to the neuro? What do you do?
Breathing is one of the most important things. And I don't know how true this is because it was told to me one time before I went on stage, but they say when you're nervous, your body doesn't take in as much oxygen as it needs to. So if you don't take deep breaths, your body's just not going to function right, which is just going to make it worse. And you're going to feel like you're trapped and you can't breathe. So the best thing to do is breathe. And I know everyone says just take a deep breath, but
do you prep before are you, when you're prepping and you're going, okay, I'm going to do this performance. This is, I mean, I tried to do this when I was playing, but now I know more. So I would, if I were to go back, or when I help someone, it's like you're routine to prepare you to perform it has to be practiced so much that it's not like you're going to do it just before coming on the stage.
Right.
So are you really disciplined in how you do that? So what is your before you sing, what is your routine? Like, what'd you say?
I think the most important thing is to put in the prep before. So if you're going on stage in an hour, there's really not much you can do. You can make little tweaks, but for me, it has to be muscle memory, or I'm going to go up on stage and I'm just going to blank. So I think the most important practice is the months leading up to it. Most people have a song for 6 months. So it's what you do 6 months ago. It's not what you do the week before. So it's just setting up practice time and being able to say, okay, I know it's 6 months away. I know it's a long time, but if I don't do it now, it's never going to be the best it can be. So I think that's...
Do you do any meditation or stuff like that? Or not yet?
Not really.
Okay. All right. You're 18. Remember, you're 18. You're doing great. But in time, maybe something else will come up that goes, oh, I want to add that to my practice. Or when you think of a performance... Because as we do it's like our body's just in fight or flight, right? So one of my mentors used to say, if you're not nervous, it means you don't care. So actually, if you have a different relationship with those nerves, and telling your body, I know I'm going to have a different, my physiology is going to change, but I am safe. I'm still going to go out there and I am going to give my best, but I'm in the safe environment. No one's going to kill me.
Yeah.
But when you think of an experience that was hard and you got off the stage and you're maybe disappointed, maybe you feel, how did explain that to me if something comes up for you.
So I think the most recent one was again at the Palm Beach Opera. And before I went on stage, the pianist, she's so talented. I was so blessed to work with her. And she goes, be bold. I'm here. I will catch you. And that's kind of when it changed for me because, normally it's just you're alone on stage. But she's like, I'm right here. Anything you need. If you repeat a verse, I will repeat it with you. So that was really helpful. And that's probably the only time I felt good walking off stage because I was like, man, I know I messed up, but no one could tell because she was right there and she caught me. So
that's cool. So someone's just giving that little extra. I got you.
Yeah,
I got your back. Give me a time. Let's not talk theater right now.
Okay.
Let's talk because I know Dreyfoos is a art school, a very hard art school to get into. So bravo. And you didn't go to Bach, so
right.
you were in middle school, public. When you think back to those times, before Dreyfoos, let's say, I think 6th, 7th, 8th is hard years for girls, especially.
Yeah.
What was your experience when you think of your friends or you think of belonging? Did you try and fit in? Were you more reserved? How did you experience that?
Yeah.
Time
I had a really hard friendship. This is actually how I got to Miss Abby's. So she meant very well, but it was just controlling. And it was hard because she didn't fit in with everyone and she wanted to be different. And at that point, I already had a set of friends and she kind of, dragged me out of it, which is okay. If you have one friend, not the end of the world, but that was really hard for me because I didn't know how to handle it. I was so young. I didn't even, I was scared to tell my parents and they saw it and they would always ask, what's going on? Do you really want her to come? Little things like that. But that was just a really hard point for me, and looking back, it's hard. It's just hard to tell, because you don't want to ruin a friendship, and I'm not going to be the person to say, you're a bad person. I don't want to be around you. So knowing what I know now, it's a lot easier to say that.
So tell me, what would you tell yourself or anybody listening that has parents in the middle school age
Yeah.
around friends, because I see it all the time, and I think kids are trying to navigate who they are,
Right.
and sometimes it comes across like everybody's being mean or they're manipulative or controlling. But like, what would you tell that younger self?
There's no need to stick around. I mean, I was friends with her for all 3 years, and it really ruined other friendships, and it was hard, but it was nice to go to Dreyfoos and have a reset almost of new friends and new faces. And I think that's when I really realized it. I was like, okay, I don't need to be surrounded by someone who's just going to bring me down, or someone who's going to tell me I'm not good enough to feel like I belong. You know, it's okay to not have a friend. It's okay to not have anyone if it's just going to be unhealthy. I think that's the most important thing.
That is strong advice.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to
Yeah.
let go, but if it doesn't feel right, that is pretty mature, because I don't know many adults that do that. So. I know, I don't want to say that, but like, I think it's hard to stand up and say I need space.
Right.
And especially at school when they're always with you. It's like,
Yeah.
how do I navigate this? By knowing that comment where you just said, like, it's okay to step away, what does that do for your own being? Is it scary to make that choice, or like?
Yeah, it's really scary, and it's hard, and you don't want to, because you don't want to be the bad guy. But also it's freeing, and once you're out of it, you realize, okay, there's more than their opinion, and there's more to you than what they think. And I think that's the big takeaway.
Yeah, and I think also when you do that, it opens space up for something new to come.
Yeah.
That's kind of, nothing can come if someone's always on you, or,
Right.
And there's ways to say it that doesn't mean it has to hurt. But that's so cool that you did that, because I think, I really hope in 6th, 7th, 8th, like, I'm very passionate about that age, because it could be parenting, teaching, whatever, but like, for them to that age to navigate who they are while trying to be friends and like having crushes and all these things. It's just like, it's a confusing time, and I really feel like we need to support how people start to discover who they are, and have the strength to say, hey, this is for me. It doesn't mean a bad thing. I'm really passionate about that, because I see that, like, a 3-year window of, like, it could be even into high school, but like, but high school, if they're not really learning that skill of who they are, it carries into high school, and that clickiness, whatever. So it's so cool that you had the courage, because it takes courage.
Yeah.
Who would you say is your biggest mentor, influencer, whether it be you as a human or you as a performer, or maybe one or two?
Yeah. I think Miss Abby and my dad have been, they're just such great people, and there's not enough words to, really tell everything, but they're so determined but also compassionate. And I think that's a balance that a lot of people, strive for, and they definitely both nail that.
Drive and compassion. It's funny. Did you listen to Abby's? We had Abby on, and Abby's strong. She's very like, these are the times, but I actually see, like, she's a rare, and how she is demanding of being committed. And I think in the world today, there's too much loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
And I think it teaches you to show up. And somewhere in the presence of the 6 years did you also do theater with her?
Yeah.
So you've been with her for how many years then?
6.
6, but you did theater when you were younger.
Yes. So I did it. It was really middle school when I got involved with theater. So.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So late in the game. Got it. Very cool. So discipline and driven and compassion. What 3 characters would you say make you at your best? Like, Yeah, I know. Everybody
so
always
hard.
goes because it's hard to talk about ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a hard conversation to say, I think I'm this.
Yeah.
But I will say, I've said my thoughts of what I see in you.
I think I'm driven. A lot of self-motivation. I like to think I'm nice and easy to talk to. Yeah.
Josie, can you give me 3 words of why you love? Yeah, I'll share them on here. You're standing here. You witness Kadence and what she does. What are 3 words that make you love her? Because I know how much you love her.
She's always happy and very nice to everyone. She's really talented.
So happy, kind, and talented, says Josie in the corner.
So sweet.
But she really is just in awe of who you are at the age that you are. So it's a great role model for my daughter to see. That's really cool. I wanted to ask a few more questions. One is, what's your goal after your 4 years? Because you're driven. Because when I went to college, I was like, I'll be a teacher. I was not. I was lost. So there's a lot of people that really don't know what they want. Mm-hmm. And part of knowing what you want, you have to why do I stand up for that when that relationship didn't feel right? We start to learn about why we do certain things or what draws me over to that person. But if we don't do that work, we don't know what we like and what we don't like.
Yeah.
And we're wired that way, So what is it that you are drawn to, or you probably know exactly what you want with that neuroscience and voice? What do you see? Even imaginary, I want to vision. What's your vision?
I just want to help people. And at the end of the day, I want to give them answers and kind of inspire as well. So I hope I'm able to snag a research job in neuroscience. But if I end up doing med, I would love to be a psychiatrist. I think that's so cool. Or a neurologist and study, the actual
It's a lot of
brain.
different.
Yeah,
so
so
cool.
I really don't know what I want.
It because that's cool.
Yeah.
But you're putting it all out there.
Yeah.
When you think of the imprint that you want to make currently on the people that you're around, what would you hope they're saying?
I hope they have confidence, and I hope they know that there's worth no matter how old they are. I mean, even Josie's so young, but she has so much to offer, more than just singing and acting and dancing, but there's so much internal drive that they can offer to every situation, and I hope they know that, and I hope I've inspired that in them.
Cool. Okay, do I dare put you on the spot?
Oh, boy.
I didn't know you did opera.
Yes.
Do you write songs too?
No, I don't.
So can you give us a little something?
You want me to say right now?
Yes. Could you? Would you?
I have videos. No, you want something live?
Well, I'll put a little video in, but can you give me a little note or a little something that you're one of your faves?
My favorite one right now is French, and anyone who knows me, Miss Abby, if she's listening, she's going to be laughing because I hated the song for the entire time I was learning it. Up until the day I was because you go in, you bring 3 songs to a jury, and they only choose one, and I was so upset they didn't choose this song.
Explain to me, what is this for? This is
for school. So you have to learn 3 songs every semester, and then at the end of the semester, you go into a jury and you have to learn all these translations. And one was French, one was German, and I think one was Italian at this point. And I hated this French song. I could not do it. It was so hard. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm dying doing this. But by the end of it, they didn't pick the French song. And I was so just hurt. I was like, I worked so hard. It sounds so good at this point. And I was just like, oh, maybe I do like it. Maybe that's why I'm disappointed. So that's one of my favorite songs right now.
Okay. Can you give it a little tune of it?
You want me to?
Will you? Yeah.
Yeah? Do you want me to pull up the accompaniment?
Yeah, sure. And in the meantime, while you're pulling it up, what'd you love about Dreyfoos? What made Dreyfoos so special?
It's absurd, the amount of talent. There should not be that much talent in one school. And it's funny because everyone's so driven. You think I'm driven. Some people, crazy. They're so talented. They're so smart. it's like, it's,
mind-blowing.
yeah,
Mind-blowing.
there's really no words to
In
describe.
one spot to have that
Right.
much talent.
So it doesn't matter if you're in an English class. Everyone in that English class wants to be there, for the most part. I mean, you have one or two.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's
So cool. So cool. I mean, I that's one thing I even feel going through the process with this Bach is I really feel like these kids, it's an opportunity and it's a choice, and like you can see how excited they are to be there and that they're going to work hard to be there. And imagine a world that we all did that. It would be so cool.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. What's the name of it again?
Le Rose des Spans by
Okay.
Faulkner.
Okay, cool.
Les roses disparaissent dans les gaines de mousse, les jameux des moussous, les fleurs de l'oranger. En ton parfum, moi frais, en tes notes, moi douce, oh blanche Leila, quand ton souffle est léger.
That is so cool. Did you not get chills? I totally got chills. I mean,
So
and then
sweet.
I'm like, oh gosh, you have to listen. Anyone else is listening now because she just gave me chills through the music. Is Josie's piano teacher, studied at Princeton,
Wow.
and she's a musicologist.
Mm-hmm.
But you would never, like, I don't even know the history of music, but she's the beautiful human, lives in the mountains, has created a music school. And again, this is why I love this podcast, is because I learned her story, and I learned her gifts are beyond this music school. Like, she's studied around the best. And when she talks about music and how it changes people and like moves people, like, I don't even know what you're saying. What were you saying, by the way?
So it's a French song. It's about they're relating love and like their lover to all these beautiful things. So the first verse was saying like jasmine and sweet orange blossoms and just giving imagery of like sweet flowers and nature and relating it back to a lover.
You're
Yeah.
deep, girl. 18 and deep. Any last words to someone, the young, any inspirational words that you would share to end this off?
Just know your worth.
Know your worth.
Yeah.
I love it. And that's not for only young, by the way. That's
Yeah.
for everyone. And that's why I do. That's why you want to help people. That's why I want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have a worth that we already have inside of us if we just listen and tune into that.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Awesome. Thank you so much,
Of
Kadence.
course. Thank you.
And thank you for being singing on the spot. Just throw her out there. I didn't share that she was going to do that. So thanks again. And join us on the any of our Journey to June episodes, but especially go and listen on any of our platforms. And if you want to join any of our retreats or work one-on-one with me, tune in at liveyourjune.com and we'll reach back out to you. Thanks so much for listening. What do you think?
It's good.
Yeah?
I liked it.
Is it scary?
Yeah.
You're good at it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's cool. And Josie was scared the first time she did it. She's done, how many have you done?
Like
5.
5.
But what's cool, first of all, number one, she's warm. Now she's more excited about it. And she just gets naturally talks like of what's going on in her life. And the other thing is like most people, I mean, to share go back as a young person, just like reflect on what you've done and how special it is and say it out loud. It's pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind.
No, it was good. I liked it.
And like it gets you like, I am fucking good.
Yeah.
Which we know you know that. But like you're kind too, so you're always more probably humble, which I love.
I try to be.
But sometimes, do you know Elizabeth Brockwell? She used to do performance arts
Yes.
studio.
Yes.
That was the first performance place we moved here, and we found she went in raw, and we never did any theater, and
Abby came to the show.
and then Abby came to the show, and Elizabeth moved, but Elizabeth's you remind me of Elizabeth.
Oh.
She
Yeah.
reminds me of my cousin Grace.
Oh yeah, humble, and the voice
She does
is.
theater.
I can't wait to see where you go.
Yes.
Doctor,
A lot of options.
psychologist, and the school is lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I mean, I love that. Flip it on the head. Be like, you're lucky
So
to have
important.
me.
Yeah.
But I didn't ask this. Did Dreyfoos help a lot in navigating? No.
Yeah, they did. It was really the counselors. I mean, the teachers are always there if you need something. But do you know who James Patterson, the author?
Yes.
He's very involved with Dreyfoos. So he funds Kravis. You know how we do a show at Kravis?
Josie, look up James Patterson. He's a big author.
Yeah. He pays for everything for the Kravis for us to be there for Prism, which is our big showcase.
Come on.
And he also, I didn't know this until this year, he funds college classes every Saturday. So every Saturday from 10 to 1.
Wait. We have to clip this on. Can we do this?
Sure.
Okay. We're gonna clip it at the end or something. Okay, tell me more about Dreyfoos. I know. We're gonna. Sorry, I'll start again. We're gonna do 5 minutes, how you got in.
Yeah.
And whatever we were just talking about, what makes Dreyfoos so special or whatever. I don't know. Okay, so tell me, you decide, I'm gonna apply to Dreyfoos or try out for Dreyfoos. How scary was that?
It was hard because at this point I wasn't doing any solo work, and you have to have solo, obviously, to audition for a choir. So I was working with my choir teacher, Miss Leahy, who's now at Bach. She's amazing. And she's like, you should really audition. What's the worst that can happen? They say no. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I ended up auditioning. I had no idea I was going to get in. I literally had backup schools. I was like, okay, I can go to Oxbridge for volleyball if I don't get in. They were just, I was worried I wouldn't get in. And it was so surreal. I was like, there's no way. Because, there were 3 other kids, I believe, from that year that didn't go to Bach. So that was surreal.
So you were one of the few that had not gone to Bach, which is rare. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then you go to Dreyfoos. You obviously excel. You expand.
Yeah.
It is a different animal than a public school.
Mm-hmm.
In what way? Tell me what makes that place so special. Is it the teachers? What makes a great teacher there?
Yeah. So all the teachers there want to teach, and they've been doing it for a really long time, and they're just as motivated as the students, which is crazy. There's a lot of community involvement too with donors and even scholarships. I received 2 scholarships from Dreyfoos for college, which is really helpful because how many schools give you scholarships?
And you applied for that as well.
Yeah.
See? You're a doer. And then you were just talking about Kravitz. You do a huge thing at the end. And how does that work?
So we do our Prism. We do our Prism performance every year at Kravis, and it's around Christmas time. James Patterson, he's an author. He underwrites all the expenses for us to be at Kravis. Him and his wife actually saw it years ago when it wasn't at Kravis, and he loved it so much. He's like, you know what? This deserves to be in a bigger studio, a bigger theater. So he underwrites all the expenses.
So he has no one that's gone to Dreyfoos. He just went to see your work.
Yeah.
And then said, I'm sponsoring this to make it happen at a nicer place. Mm-hmm. That is incredible. James Patterson, thank you. I don't know if Josie will end up at Dreyfoos, but that it's so cool to have this. We just moved here. To have that in your backyard, Dreyfoos, and to expand who you are in this school that there has to be, how would you put into words having teachers that really are there with passion, kids that like you said are so driven.
Yeah.
What is the environment like? I guess
it's really hard to fail. I remember I had a C, and I got called down to the guidance counselor. I was like, oh my God, like, I'm getting expelled. And she's like, I just want to make sure everything's okay. How are you doing? Is something happening at home? I was like, no, this class is just really hard. So it's really it's hard to go unnoticed at Dreyfoos. And I think that's something that lacks at a normal school. You don't have as much, it's not even pressure. It's just someone looking out for you all the time. So there's always just someone watching over you and making sure you're doing okay, both academically and mentally.
That is so beautiful. Well, you're blessed, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
At Furman. And I do believe, we've got to look this up, but Betsy King, who started my charity that I was involved with, I think she went to Furman. I'm pretty sure she's a Hall of Famer golfer.
Oh, wow.
So you have to look her up. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it's Furman. Don't quote me. But thank you.
Of course.